Zach has grown up on his own. He's a strong man. He's got a great family. His values are certainly in place far before I ever came into the picture. I can answer it like this, Matt. I would say that his training habits, his sacrifice for the team, those are the things that stuck out in my mind. That were similar to me. I was never a great player, so I did whatever it took to help the team win. I think Zach's along that mode. He would not like me to repeat this story, but I sent him away to my brother, who was coaching the Cleveland Crunch at the time, indoor, and it lasted all of about 2 months, and my brother sent him back to me because he wasn't quite up technically in the indoor game. Everything's a little faster. And so what did he do? He was then overly determined to make sure that that doesn't happen again, and he worked on his passing, his first touch, for the next years, and still, even you saw him kick some long balls here today. He is now one of our best passers, not only in his technique but his decision making. So he learned that from not a great moment in his career, but he was always able to figure stuff out and make himself better.
Sure. He likes to talk about his first USL tryout where he said there was guys in jean shorts trying out for the Sounders and stuff. Were you at that tryout, and do you remember just your first initial impressions of him from that time?
I have to give Chance Fry, a former Sounder, some credit there. So I was sitting up there with me and Dick McCormick and Chance and a bunch of guys, and it was a little, whatever ragtag if you want to call it, but all open tryouts are like that a little bit. So what stood out in that game on Memorial Stadium, which is a small field anyway, is Zach was crushing every single header, because there wasn't a lot of good soccer played at those open tryouts, so the goalkeeper would kick the ball down the field, and Zach would just get up and he'd crush these guys. And Chance Fry looks at me and goes, "You got to sign that guy just because he wins every single header." And so we said, okay, we're going to sign him. Let's do it.
Would you imagine then that he would make it 15 years as a pro and be able to accomplish all that he had?
Not at that particular moment, Matt, but okay, 6 months in, a month in, 2 years in, because he's just that determined. I think he was always determined to prove to himself and to others that he belonged, that he could actually play and play at a high level. I think his ceiling, his bar for himself was set very high from the very beginning.
What does this club going to miss the most for when Zach Scott retires?
Leadership by example. That to me is number one. I remember when he was first with us in the MLS team, and Zig would be concerned because Zach wouldn't be in the starting lineup, and he'd shove one of the goals out over in the flank areas, and he'd just work on getting the ball and swinging the ball across with his left foot. And there was always that concern that he would overtrain, and then his form would dip a little bit, but then he always managed to regain that because it's a long season, it's ebbs and flows. And so that was one of our challenges with Zach early on, was to kind of fix that little difference from the USL to the MLS. It was a little bitter jump, and we had to manage his physical conditioning as well. But he always worked hard. He always worked during the flow of training, but then always did that little bit of extra after training just to make sure he was in our thoughts as far as starting lineup is concerned.
You obviously heard him mention that you guys would go at it a little bit, butting heads. Do you have any specific examples, or one that you can remember of a time where you and Zachary, your personalities kind of flared up a little bit at each other?
There's a few. I'll tell you the one that happened yesterday.
Okay.
So we're playing 11v11, full field. Olex Anderson gets by Zach. Tony Alfaro has to come over, but he comes over late. Olex falls over in the box, and it's a controversial moment because none of these guys like to lose, and I'm refereeing, and I blow a whistle for a penalty. And Zach is immediately up in arms, screaming, "That's not a blank penalty." And okay, I take it from Zach because he's a senior guy, and they're into the game. But then one of the young goalkeepers decided to, jump on board, and that goalkeeper was saying, it's not a blanket penalty, that's bull, whatever. So I stopped training, and I looked at Zach and I said, I'll take it from you because you're a senior player and I respect what you've done, but you get back there in goal and make sure you just keep the ball out of the back of the net. That's your job. You're a young player, knock it off. That was a typical Zach moment where he's a competitor, he doesn't like to lose, didn't think it was a penalty, let me know. Simple as that.
Coach, on the eve of your big derby match against Vancouver, what's it mean to have Clint back a couple days before that match takes place?
I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today, I'll say it every day until he actually steps on the field. It's the same thing like Roman. He brings, new life and everybody's happy. He's here, he's training. So it just boosts the locker room. We already had a tight locker room, but just having him back is just an added benefit.
Didn't look like Brad was out here today, but what's his status looking like for the weekend?
Still working on that back and a couple other things, and just we're trying to get him healthy for Saturday. That's the goal.
You've tried Christian and Flacco both on that right wing. What do both of those different guys give to you, and what might you need more out of that spot?
Well, both are similar in the sense that Christian can be goal dangerous at times, and so can Flacco. I mean, they're obviously, when we had Dempsey and Nico and Andreas, I think those guys are all three goal dangerous. But, maybe they're not quite at that level, but they always can get in behind. They can always come in at the back post because both of them are very good in the air. So it's a little bit just there's a younger guy who might be a little defensive. There's a senior guy that might be a little more attack-minded. It's kind of just game by game and how I think the team should be set up.
Sure, so just kind of a matchup type thing as it goes.
Matchup type thing. They've both been training hard, and we'll just see how we set the team up.
Aaron Kovar is back in training. How do you feel his recovery's gone, and how far away do you think he is from being ready to step on the field?
Scored a great goal today. Pushing, because he's another kid like Zach that trains hard every day. So I can't put an exact timetable on it, but I think he'll be ready to play next week, and then it'll be coach's choice as to whether he's in the 18 and whether he's in the starting 11.
You mentioned that Zach Scott is great about leading by example and has just been a long-term leader. Who are some other players in the locker room that have already started to step up and take that place as leading by example?
Well, Zach's not gone yet.
But
In the meantime, he's still not gone yet. I'll answer your question. We have a bunch of leading. Brad Evans is a guy who leads by example. Roman leads by example. Ozzie, Christian. Nelson Valdez has had a really tremendous week as well. He leads by example. We have a lot of those guys. It's just from day one, Zach has been here. So he's been the one constant. We had players come and go and stuff like that, but Zach has been here the longest, and his mentality is kind of what I, as a coach, appreciate.
With the lack of productivity at the right wing, is there ever a thought about moving Jovan Jones there so he plays with the national team there?